The last thing I remember was the sound of my own heartbeat, loud, uneven, like something trapped inside my chest was trying to claw its way out. The world around me was wrong. My vision pulsed with every beat, blurring the trees above me into a smear of black and red. There was a smell in the air, something sweet and metallic, and it took me a moment to realize it was blood. My blood. I tried to move, but the ground beneath me felt soft, too soft, like the forest floor had been disturbed. My fingers sank into it and came up slick with something that wasn't just dirt. The cold bit into my skin, yet I could feel heat rising from somewhere nearby, like something burning just out of sight. I called out once, my voice raw and cracked. No answer, only the low hum of insects that shouldn't have been awake this late in the year. My head throbbed, and when I touched the back of my neck, my fingers brushed a wound I didn't remember getting. There was something else. Too, a faint whisper, distant but steady, repeating my name in a voice that sounded almost like my own. That's when the panic hit. I staggered to my feet and turned in a slow circle. The trees were familiar, but not. Everything felt rearranged, like the forest had been rebuilt from memory by someone who had never actually seen it. Then I saw the light, a pale, flickering glow through the trees. It wasn't fire. It wasn't a flashlight. It was pulsing, alive. I should have run. Every instinct screamed at me to leave. But instead I took a step closer, drawn by something I couldn't explain. I don't remember what happened next. Just flashes, movement, the sound of breathing that wasn't mine, the feeling of falling, and then silence. When I woke again, it was daylight. My car was gone, my phone was dead, and there were footprints around. Me, dozens of them, all facing toward where I had been lying. Maybe I should start from the beginning. It's strange how easy it is to lie to yourself. The morning after that night, I convinced myself it had been a dream, some vivid hallucination brought on by stress or exhaustion. I told myself that the dirt on my clothes, the shallow wound on my neck, the faint metallic smell on my hands, all of it could be explained, rationalized. I showered for nearly an hour, scrubbing until my skin burned. The water ran brown at first, then pink, then finally clear. By the time I stepped out, I felt human again. Or at least I told myself I did. When I checked my phone, there were no missed calls, no messages, nothing unusual. Except for one thing. My photos folder had a new album I didn't remember making. It was titled Recovered. Inside were 12 images, all taken in the woods, all taken from the perspective of someone standing over me as I slept. I deleted them immediately, or at least I thought I did. The phone froze, the screen flickered, and for a split second, I saw something else, an image that wasn't one of the 12. A face, blurred and pale, with eyes that looked too wide to be human. Then it was gone. I laughed it off. The way you do when something unnerves you, but you don't want to admit it. I told myself it was just a glitch, maybe a corrupted file. I even joked about it to my coworker Sam later that day. Sam didn't laugh. "You said the file was named Recovered?" he asked, leaning over my desk. "That's not something your phone just does. That's what forensic data tools use when they restore deleted content. Did you plug your phone into anything?" I shook my head. "Then someone else did," he said quietly. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I replayed every second of the drive home, every noise outside my window, every flicker of light in the hallway. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of the forest again. Only this time the pale light wasn't far away. It was inside my house, flickering in the reflection of the TV screen, pulsing like a heartbeat. When I woke, there were muddy footprints in my living room. Small, bare, childlike. I called Sam first thing in the morning. He came over within the hour, armed with coffee and that skeptical half-smile of his. But when he saw the footprints, the smile vanished. "They're too perfect," he murmured. "No smudges, no drag. like they weren't made by walking, like they were placed there. He followed them to the front door, which was still locked from the inside. We didn't say much after that. He helped me set up cameras around the house, one in each room, motion sensors, the whole deal. For the first time, I felt like I was doing something about it, taking control. But control is a funny thing, it's just another illusion. Because that night when I checked the footage, I saw something that made my stomach drop. At 3:17 a.m., the camera in my bedroom flickered, just once. Then for exactly 5 seconds, the lens caught a shape standing beside my bed. It wasn't moving. It wasn't breathing. It was just there. And when I looked closer, frame by frame, I realized it wasn't facing me. It was facing the camera. I didn't sleep after that. Who could? Every creak in the house became a warning, every flicker of light a threat. I left the cameras running. But I couldn't bring myself to review the footage. Again, not after what I'd already seen. Sam tried to convince me to stay at his place for a few nights. I almost agreed, but something held me back. Curiosity, maybe, or guilt. The feeling that whatever this was, it had followed me for a reason. That night I sat in my living room with every light on. Midnight came and went. 1:00 a.m. passed in silence. Around 2:15 I must have dozed off. Because when I opened my eyes, every light in the house was off. The only illumination came from the hallway camera's tiny red indicator. It blinked twice, then stopped. I reached for my phone, but it wouldn't turn on. Then from the darkened hallway came a sound like someone dragging their fingers along the wall. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. I forced myself to stand. "Hello?" My voice cracked. No response. The sound stopped just beyond the living room doorway. Then something moved. Not a person, something smaller. The silhouette of a child stepped into view, no taller than my chest. But its proportions were wrong. Its limbs too thin, its head slightly tilted, as if the neck couldn't fully support it. It stood there, motionless, for what felt like forever. Then it took a single jerky step forward. The smell hit me next, damp soil and something faintly sweet, like decomposing fruit. I backed away until my knees hit the couch. It opened its mouth, not to speak, but to exhale. A faint cloud of mist escaped, even though the room was warm. And then it whispered, not in a child's voice, but in mine. "Why did you leave me there?" My knees buckled. I didn't remember saying anything, but tears burned in my eyes anyway. It took another step forward, and the air around it began to distort, like heat rising from asphalt. When I blinked, it was gone. Just gone. The lights flickered back on, my phone restarted, and for a few blissful seconds, I thought it was over. Then I noticed the TV screen. It was on, even though I hadn't touched the remote. Static filled the room, but buried beneath the noise was a voice, faint, distant, repeating the same sentence over and over. "Come back, come back, come back." And behind the static, I saw something moving, a reflection. Not of me, but of that thing, standing right behind where I sat. I didn't turn around. I just closed my eyes and listened as it whispered one last word. Soon. After that night, everything changed. The world around me felt thinner, like the air itself had been stretched too far, ready to tear at any second. I stopped going to work. I barely ate. Every sound made me flinch. Sam kept checking in, but I started ignoring his calls. I couldn't explain it to him anymore. How could I tell him that the walls seemed to breathe, or that my reflection sometimes lagged half a second behind me? On the 5th night, I found something under my pillow. A clump of wet soil mixed with something pale. Bone, maybe. I threw it out and slept on the couch. That's when the scratching started. At first it was faint, like a mouse trapped inside the walls. But by midnight it was louder, deliberate. coming from underneath the floorboards. When I pressed my ear to the ground, I could hear it breathing. I pulled back, heart hammering, and whispered into the dark, "What do you want from me?" A voice answered, muffled, almost tender, "To remember." I tore up part of the floor the next morning. Sam would have called me insane if he'd seen me, hands shaking, sweat dripping down my face as I pried up the boards. But I had to know. I had to see. The smell hit first, damp earth and decay. Then I saw it. Something buried shallow beneath the foundation. A small rotted wooden box. Inside were things I recognized immediately. My old compass from high school, a keychain I'd lost years ago, and a small weathered photograph of me and my little brother. Except I didn't have a little brother. The photo felt wrong in my hands. Familiar and foreign all at once. I turned it over, and on the back, written in smeared ink, were the words, "You left me behind." My stomach turned. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping the picture. When I looked again, the boy in the photo wasn't smiling anymore. His eyes had turned black. That night, I dreamed of digging. When I woke, my hands were covered in dirt. Fresh dirt. And outside in the yard, there was a hole. I don't remember digging it. I don't even remember leaving the house. But the shovel was there. And something was moving in the soil. Slowly, like it was breathing. Sam showed up around noon, pounding on the door until I let him in. He took one look at me and froze. "You look like hell," he said, voice low. "When's the last time you slept?" I tried to answer, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I handed him the photograph. He stared at it for a long time, then looked at me, pale as chalk. "That's impossible," he whispered. "I know that kid." I frowned. "What?" Sam's voice cracked. "That's my brother." At first I thought Sam was joking, but he wasn't smiling. He told me his brother Daniel had disappeared when they were kids, vanished during a camping trip in the same forest I'd been in. No body, no evidence, just gone. When the police gave up, Sam's family moved away, trying to forget, but he never did. He stared at the photo again, knuckles white. "This was taken the week before he vanished," he said quietly. "I've seen this picture before, but the other kid wasn't you." The room spun. I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself. "Then why am I in it?" He didn't answer, just turned pale and muttered, "You shouldn't have gone back there." Before I could ask what he meant, every light in the house flickered. The air grew heavy, thick, electric. From somewhere deep below, I heard a sound like soil shifting. Slow, rhythmic, like something tunneling upward. Sam and I backed away from the noise. The floorboards creaked beneath our feet, trembling slightly. Then came the first knock. 3 dull thuds from under the floor. Then 3 more. The rhythm quickened, becoming desperate. I could feel it. Whatever was buried beneath the house, it was moving. "Get out!" Sam hissed, but I couldn't move. My legs refused to listen. My mind was somewhere else, flashing with memories that didn't belong to me. A hand reaching out of the dirt. A boy's laughter echoing through the woods. My own voice whispering, "Don't tell anyone." When I blinked, the room was different, dimmer. The shadows felt alive, twitching just beyond the edges of light. Sam was shouting my name, but his voice sounded distant, distorted like it was underwater. And then the ground gave way. I fell through darkness that smelled of rot and rain-soaked earth. When I landed, I was standing in the woods again. Only this time, the trees were hollow, empty shells that pulsed faintly like veins. Something stood ahead of me, a figure made of light and mud, its face a shifting blur between my own and Sam's brother's. "You left me," it said again. But now the voice was layered. Mine. Sam's, Daniel's, all speaking as one. "You both did." It stepped closer, and the forest seemed to lean with it. The ground softened under my feet, pulling me down. I tried to run, but every direction led back to the same clearing, the same tree, the same box half buried in the dirt. I looked down and saw my own hands, smaller now, trembling, holding the same shovel from my dreams. I remembered everything. The night we played hide and seek. The fall, the scream, the silence, the pact to never tell. We'd buried him. Not because we wanted to, but because we were scared. Because we thought no one would believe us. And now he'd come back to make us remember. I don't know how long I stood there, staring into that grave we'd made years ago. The world felt split open, half memory, half nightmare. The air buzzed with whispers, and the ground trembled like it was breathing beneath my feet. Then I heard Sam, faint above me. His voice echoed through the earth, shouting my name. I looked up, but there was no sky, only darkness folding in on itself. Roots hung like veins from the ceiling, dripping mud that smelled like blood. And then, from the shadows, Daniel stepped forward. Or what was left of him. His body was half-formed, like clay that refused to hold shape. His face rippled between child and corpse. "Why didn't you come back?" he asked. His voice was soft, almost kind. I couldn't speak. Every word felt too small, too useless. He tilted his head. "You buried me and went home. You built a life. I stayed here." His eyes, black, endless, locked onto mine. "So now you will too." The earth beneath me opened. Cold hands, small, soil-covered, grabbed my ankles. I screamed and fell backward as they pulled, dragging me into the dirt. "Sam!" I shouted. I could still hear him above, pounding on the floor, his voice breaking. But it didn't matter. The soil swallowed the sound. It swallowed everything. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my house. The lights were flickering. The cameras were all on, recording. Every screen showed the same thing. Me, standing motionless in the center of the room, eyes black. Sam was there too, frozen in place, staring at the monitor. He whispered my name once. Then the lights went out completely. I felt something move behind me. Breath brushed the back of my neck. And then softly, Daniel's voice again. "You remember now?" "That's enough." I turned, and for the first time I saw his face clearly. It was mine. The police found Sam's car still running in my driveway the next morning. The front door was open, and the living room floor had collapsed into a pit of loose soil. They never found him, or me. But sometimes when people walk past that house at night, they say they hear knocking beneath the ground. 3 knocks, then 3 more. And if you listen long enough, you might hear a child's voice whisper your name, no matter who you are. Some stories don't end. They just wait to be remembered. And when you finally do, they come back for you. It's been weeks since I've written anything down. I'm not sure who I am anymore, or if the person who started this story still exists. The cameras are still running. I can hear the faint hum of their lenses even when I close my eyes. Sometimes I see movement in the playback, like someone pacing behind me. But when I turn around, there's nothing. Other times, I'll wake up in the yard, standing barefoot in the same spot where the hole used to be. The grass never grows there. It just stays dark and damp no matter the weather. I've tried leaving town. I made it 10 miles before my car died on an empty road. The engine wouldn't start, and the radio kept whispering the same words, backward, soft, almost pleading. When I walked home, it was already night again, and the lights were on. The earth beneath me opened. Cold hands, small, soil-covered, grabbed my ankles. I screamed and fell backward as they pulled, dragging me into the dirt. "Sam!" I shouted. I could still hear him above, pounding on the floor, his voice breaking. But it didn't matter. The soil swallowed the sound. It swallowed everything. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my house. The lights were flickering. The cameras were all on, recording. Every screen showed the same thing. Me, standing motionless in the center of the room, eyes black. Sam was there too, frozen in place, staring at the monitor. He whispered my name once. Then the lights went out completely. I felt something move behind me. Breath brushed the back of my neck. And then softly, Daniel's voice again. "You remember now?" "That's enough." I turned, and for the first time I saw his face clearly. It was mine.
7.
If you're watching this, if somehow this recording ends up online, don't try to find me. Don't try to find it. You'll think you're safe, that it's just a story. That's how it starts. You'll go for a walk in the woods one night. You'll hear a voice that sounds just like yours calling your name. You'll follow it. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, you'll forget why you ever wanted to leave. The cycle doesn't end. It just waits. And now that you've listened, it knows your name too.